So, what people do not realize right now is that we are going through a problem with the energetic input and output of the world. Yes, people realize that the energy is expensive. People realize that there is a war going on between Iran, the United States, and the Middle East, which affects the rest of the world. But what people do not understand is that there's a shift happening in how companies and countries will deal on the long term with energetic input and output. Energy is going to become even more precious as the world is going through a problem. The problem is that countries do not want to solely rely anymore on the US dollars to conduct their affairs. We've been seeing that the US debt purchase has decreased a lot during the last years. China, which was a very big buyer, is not anymore, and some other countries followed it. This regionalization, let's call it that way, of affairs with BRICS, with NATO, and what's happening in the military side in Europe, the Ukraine and Russia war, and now what's happening in the Middle East is redesigning, redefining not only physical lines of where you can trade, how you can trade, but also the political and philosophical lines. You do not want to trade with a country that is imposing a war that is not moral to the rest of the world. Wars are accepted by countries and their citizens, but sometimes they're not. And what we are seeing right now with the strategy of Trump, with the strategy of other countries, is people do not take it anymore as they used to. And this is part of the social progression. Younger people do not take the world as older people used to. Younger people do not spend their money as older people used to. And now we have AI. Countries and companies are very worried about AI because it needs a lot of energetic input to produce the best models. And there's a war going on. A war to see which country is going to be the first country to achieve the best intelligence, what they call general artificial intelligence. This is very serious for many countries. They want to be the first to achieve that. And in order for that to happen, they must improve and have the most efficient way to manage their energetic input and output. And that's when Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin takes a lot of energy consumption in order to create new Bitcoins today. The difficulty of the network is too much. So, with time, countries and companies are going to realize that they could better manage energetic input and output by not mining Bitcoin so much. I do not doubt that some laws regarding how much mining power you can direct to mining Bitcoin or how much electricity is going to be spent doing that is going to rise. These laws are going to be put in place in order to protect the protagonist of the energetic agenda, which is AI. So, with that in mind, some people, altogether with the quantum computing threat that is going on, are saying that there's a real possibility that Bitcoin goes to zero because Bitcoin is not quantum proof and because companies and countries are going to realize that they need that energetic input going towards Bitcoin to go towards AI. We are already very close to the maximum supply that can be mined in Bitcoin, which is roughly 21 million Bitcoins. We have surpassed 20 million Bitcoins by now. People do not realize that. I mean, we are already very close to the maximum supply, and there's a lot of energetic spend, on the bitcoins that were already mined. A lot of energy or where was already spent on that. At the same time, we can see that Google, Visa, MasterCard, Coinbase, Amazon, Microsoft, and other companies are adopting the X402 protocol, which is a protocol to enable agentic payments that will use stablecoins and blockchain as a underlying technology. This is huge because agents cannot open bank accounts. They will use crypto. And as the United States has a problem now with financing their debt because countries will not buy the bonds anymore, they can incentivize the usage of stablecoins. And stablecoins are backed by companies or countries that buy dollars, that buy US bonds. So this is interesting for the strategic oversight that United States can have over their debt by enabling stablecoins. And this is why so many American companies are getting on board. This is huge. What I'm trying to arrive at here is that there's fear going on because of quantum computing, because companies and countries will not want to spend so much electricity mining Bitcoin anymore. Therefore, Bitcoin might go to zero. This is not true. We already have a lot of effort that went into Bitcoin. And we are already very close to the maximum supply anyway. What will happen is a supply shock because when companies and countries stop mining Bitcoin, there is not going to be a steady daily supply of Bitcoins anymore. The Bitcoins that already exist, they will go into a supply shock. Bitcoin will become more valuable. Countries that are separating the ways they deal, the ways they trade, the ways they organize their economical agenda will want a neutral, AI ready money. Bitcoin is the closest we have. So when we see this fear spreading about Bitcoin going to zero because of quantum computing or because of AI, I see an agenda here for people to sell their Bitcoin at lower prices while the big companies, the big financiers are buying Bitcoin. This is something that we need to keep in mind. Bitcoin is going to go parabolic within the right time frame, but it's a plan that is already set. So hold your Bitcoins. Hold your Ethereum as well, I would say, because Ethereum has the possibility of becoming very important as it becomes the backbone of agentic transactions and the agentic monetary system. That's it.